Welcome back to the Prep Lab. This is lesson Math 402 on trigonometry, and we're going to cover the unit circle. It's not a big topic on either standardized test. It's only about one question, so we're only going to cover the basics. I'll have another video detailed about trigonometry, or multiple of them, and the only reason I'm going to do that is because trigonometry was my absolute favorite class when I was in high school, so I'm going to record a bunch of geeky videos on it. At the end of this video, there'll be a link to the next video, which is some problems right off of the ACT. So we're talking about the unit circle. What is it? Let's take a look at the board. Here is the unit circle in the XY plane. So we have the x-axis and the y-axis. In the unit circle, unit meaning 1, is a circle with a radius of 1. So this coordinate is 1, 0. This coordinate is negative 1, 0. The top is 0, 1, and the bottom is 0, negative 1. Those are the XY points. They're also the sine and cosine, and that's what we're going to be working on. So you need to know all of the points around the unit circle, but for the SAT and the ACT, you only need to know the major ones. The radius of a circle is 1, so its circumference is pi r, 2 pi r. I almost said pi r squared. That's a thing that they always do, is they put pi r squared in. See how easy it is to make that mistake? So this is 2 pi. That's the radius all the way around at 360 degrees. So 180 degrees is equal to pi. 90 degrees is equal to pi over 2. 270 degrees is equal to 3 pi over 2. The other ones you need to know are 30, 45, and 60. At 30 degrees, we're at pi over 6. At 45 degrees, we're at pi over 4. And at 60 degrees, we're at pi over 3. What are the sine and cosine, or x and y coordinates, of each of these units? Well, x is equal to the cosine. Y is equal to the sine. So 1, 0 is the cosine sine at 360 degrees. The major ones you need to know are 30, 45, and 60. And it goes like this. 60 degrees, the cosine is 1/2. The sine is root 3 over 2. 45 is root 2 over 2. They're the same. And 30, the cosine is root 3 over 2. And the sine is 1/2. This is the unit circle. I'm going to make a PDF of this and download it and put it in the description. So study this, know it, memorize it. Angles in the unit circle can be positive or negative. Positive or negative. Positive is counterclockwise. Negative is clockwise. So on the SAT and the ACT, they talk about an angle. So right here, if I said an angle was positive pi over 3, that's the same as 60 degrees. Negative pi over 3 is negative 60 degrees. So negative goes clockwise. What is 60 degrees equal to as a positive? That's going all the way around the circle, and that would be 300 degrees. Positive and negative. Know how to work those out. Here's a handy chart. It'll be on the PDF. Download it and memorize it. The ones that I went over are 0, 30, 45, 60, 90, 180, 270, and 360. Their radians match up at 0, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And here's the sine and cosine, like on the unit circle. Memorize this. You learned it in Trig class. If you haven't had it yet, you can learn it and do very well on this singular problem that'll be on the SAT. The last thing about the unit circle is trigonometry is the study of the world broken into triangles. We call the x-axis the cosine. We call the y-axis the sine. And this hypotenuse is the radius. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1, because this is the same as a Pythagorean theorem right triangle. Cosine is A, sine is B, the hypotenuse is C. So a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Sine squared plus cosine squared always equals 1. That's the Pythagorean theorem. It's also the distance formula. The distance formula is the Pythagorean theorem. So know that one and relate triangles to the Pythagorean theorem. And that's the end of the basics 402 unit circle.